Good morning, good afternoon and good evening everybody, wherever you are around the world. I've been absent for a while, which I'll explain straight after this intro, but for now, here's something I haven't done for a long time, a road car instead of a race car. This is a Matchbox number 75 Ferrari Berlinetta. So then guys, the reason for my absence then was something which initially was to quench my thirst for model making, or to add a little bit more realism to some of these die-cast cars, and make some garages. I've invested in a laser. I quickly realised that I could add these to the portfolio of stuff I do for the decal side of things. So I thought, well, do you know what? I'll see if I can give it a whirl, add them to the website and start selling them. And I'm happy to say they've gone to all corners of the globe already. So I'm really suitably chuffed to bits with that. Thanks for all the support. I don't think without this channel, without the Instagram, and without obviously the initial purchases of all the decals, this could have happened. So I'm chuffed to bits with it. But I've done 4 designs to start with. They're all in kit form. They come supplied with instructions. Obviously, I've just made this one into a Porsche. It doesn't come with Porsche. It's a bare MDF kit version, but there's all sorts of information on the website, so I'll put the link in the description down below. I've done some little, not garages, I'm showing you the garages. I've done some little benches here as well to add to some more realism to some of the internal side of things. So I've got a lot of plans coming on. So yeah, please go check it out. That's the reason why I've been so quiet during this time. So I'll get on to the car then now. Something I haven't done for a long time is to actually strip these things down and start having a go at restoring them. But I thought I'd try something a little bit different. Not at least because it's a road car this time, but it's a Ferrari. I'm not normally a Ferrari or a supercar fan for that matter. But this is one of the old Lesney versions. It's 50 years old now. It's 1970. It's a 75B Ferrari Matchbox Berlinetta. And yeah, this one has probably ended up at the bottom of the sandpit again, or in a fish tank or something like that. So let's get cracking on with it. I've done videos before on removing bodies and removing paint, so I won't bore you too much with that. I'll put a link in descriptions again for you to go straight to them and watch a full tutorial on that. But here we go. This is one of my favourite bits, is when it first comes apart. You know, the last time someone touched the inside of this was the guy or the girl that was building it 50 years ago. So it's always interesting to see what's inside there. It's got this great little suspension bit on these. I do like these ones, and it isn't worn that much particularly, so I'm quite suitably chuffed with that as well. So this interior is a little bit, well, it's a little bit of a, I don't want to break it, so actually it's not too bad. It's popped off there, but wasn't expecting that to be quite so stuck on there. They're normally not a very tight fit. They sort of fall straight off, so a little bit surprised at that. The glass assembly, yeah, I found some guys that were selling reproduction ones, and I was going to go ahead and buy one of them, but there was such a long lead time on that. I thought, well, I'm not going to make this an exact restoration as always. I'll add a little twist to these things, so it doesn't really need to have that original glass in there anyway. So it is one of these annoying ones that's assembled, it's been pressed back into the casting again. There are not many I've come across that are like this actually. It's only really the early ones from the, I say early ones from the 70s, I guess, that are like this. Modern day ones now tend just to sit within the recesses of the interior and the casting themselves. So not a big job really, just got to be careful you don't go all the way through. So here it goes. It's, yeah, it is what it is really. That one, it's a little bit crap, so I'll just chuck that to one side. So the body, yeah, very corroded. Again, a little bit of corrosion, quite a bit of corrosion underneath of the chassis. As I say, I like that little suspension. I'll show you more of that later on. But for now, you may remember the original pot I had for removing paint. Again, I'll put a link in the description, but this has been 2 years worth. So during this lockdown, I think I thought, well, you know what, I'll go out and buy some more, and they only had this massively large 5 litre one. So yeah, I've had 2 years worth out of this pot, so this 5 litres I think is going to last me, crikey, longer than this channel probably. It'll keep on going and going and going unless the wife wants me to strip the front door or something. But yeah, it's about time I filled up with some new stuff, some new paint remover. And again, I'll put that link in the description like I just said, so I won't bore you too much with that, and I'll let it just stew for an hour or two in the background. But I'll go straight on to removing the wheels, and as I say, they're dead easy, these ones. I really like these because normally they wear very well. The last video you'll see they wear really easy, but this one's nice and tight, so I'm surprised that that's lasted. So I'm not even going to attempt to drill that one off and take that away. I'm going to leave it as it is. But I think this underneath, I think I will, well, I don't think, I know I'll give this a bit of a going over now and try and remove some of this fuzz. I can't honestly remember where this one ended up. I've got boxes and boxes. Obviously I don't sit around playing with these things anymore, but they've been from house to house to house. They've been from box to box in 5 different lofts since I've had them. So when I was playing with them back as a kid, God only knows where they ended up. I know over the years after I left home and I moved in with my wife, my mum was still finding them in the garden and all sorts like that, so she kept putting them to one side in the plastic bags, and every time I went over, I found some more cars. So I think this was one of them. I've got literally, I don't know, 20 or 30 of quite old Lesney ones. So they were when I was really little. They were given to me. So this one, God only knows where it ended up. But quickly again, flash over to the paint removal, and we'll have a look now how bad it really is. And yeah, there's quite a little bit of pitting on the side and quite a lot of heaviness on the roof, but I'm not too bothered about them. It's these mould lines along the side from when it was made that are really sticking out to me now, along the wings and the rear quarters. So whilst I'm at it, I think I'm just going to sort of de-seam that and go over all of it, really. And it's a very quick and simple job once you've got the right sanding sticks or files to do the job. I actually am just going to use some quite light sanding sticks on this one. Actually, I'm not going to go too heavy with the files or anything like that, but a couple of minutes and you will eat away all round at the imperfections and make it a lot more smoother than it originally came out anyway. As you can see, that's literally with 5-6 minutes worth of filing, and that's how it originally was on this side. So makes a massive difference. So again, I'll just do that across the roof and get some of this pitting out, some of these imperfections. I've had a little go there, but once you've had a good half an hour with it and a bit of wire wool, and it comes up a hell of a lot better than it originally was. So again, I'm always amazed at the detail you get in these little things. It's the toy-like wheel. Well, they are toys, I keep saying that. You know, it's the toy-like wheels that they put on these things back then and even now. Obviously for manufacturing and cheapness of selling them, but they come up with detail ever so accurate. They're really good. So not bad for a little 50-year-old girl, this one. It's quite surprising. So onto a bit of primer. It'll show up just any more imperfections. I always like to give it a few coats of lacquer before I lay down the paint, just to double check everything. So this is no different. And what I immediately noticed that I hadn't spotted a few moments ago was just how bad these areas around the lights are. That again, it almost looks like they were moulded separate on the front, the whole front end, and then stuck in. It's almost got a brow on them, and it looks really ugly. I hadn't noticed it at all, really. So I think a couple of different methods I'm going to use on this now. I'm going to use, to make the headlights themselves, plastic, I don't know what you call these, dressmaker's pin, yeah, a plastic ball-headed pin, I guess. I don't know. I got them from a craft shop anyway. So these little plastic balls, literally just cut them off and take care, obviously. The parts can be sharp, and then once you cut these down, you can use these for wing mirrors as well, actually, if you actually left it on the needle itself. But once you trim away some of this plastic and leave it with this half sphere shape, a little bit of light sanding, and you'll end up with a little headlight that you can stick straight onto the front and cover it all up. So if I just move my fingers out the way of the camera, there you go, and give it a bit of a, well, rather than bore you too much with that, here's one that I made earlier on. Let me just show you that one instead. Here we go. Yeah, so with a little bit of time you can make something a little bit more aesthetically pleasing than what's already there. Naturally, I think I'm going to have to grind it away so it sits flush, because it is sitting a bit proud. But there you go, that's roughly what I'm trying to achieve. But as I say, I just need to scratch away at that surface and make it flat so it sits obviously a damn sight lot better than the originals looked. So here you go, just that's it. So you can just see there, it's made it a lot flatter. Actually, it looks a bit more like a Healy there, Healy 3000. But I don't know a great deal about Ferraris in general, whether it's a classic one or a modern one, but I'm actually starting to like the lines of this now, and I'm starting to change my mind a little bit about this brand. So I'm going to airbrush a nice red onto this time. I'm going to use the X7 Tamiya red. I'll lacquer it afterwards and gloss coat it, but give it a quick whirl over with this. And I'll leave the surprise to the end, actually, the main colour. But also, I didn't realise when I was filming this, I was actually singing to myself, so I don't want to embarrass myself too much there. So we'll quickly move on, shall we, and get onto the wheels. Great set of wheels again from P&W Diecasts. I've used them before. Brian, great guy. And I've never seen so much detail as well in these wheels. That they're so fine. They are literally a needle width, them spokes. They look absolutely fantastic. I haven't seen ones this scale so fine before. So I'll put his link in the description as well. He does some great sets. He does multi-buy sets as well now, instead of just buying a dozen of each one. Or I think he sells them in fours. 4 sets of 4s, but he does mixtures as well now, so that's really good. So you can get a nice variety pack. So I'll put his link in the description anyway. Have a good look. So again, I'm going to use some needles, pins even, pins and needles for the axles. I'm just going to glue them in. And the great thing about this little suspension, the little axle holders, as I say, they aren't worn, so they're really tight fit. So it's as good as new, really, putting them straight on, and it's probably better than new, actually. It's a nice tight fit again. So here's a bit of a sneak peek of the car at the moment. Obviously a lot more details to put on it, but there we go. Rolls lovely. Nice little bit of bouncy bounce there. Yep, just how I wanted it. So I'm going to now just go over and I'll probably look at doing these windscreens now, because as I say, I couldn't wait the month lead time waiting for these ones to come through. So I've done this in the past before, and it's really straightforward. It's clear, well, it's actually acetate, really, 140 micron thick acetate that I use. Evergreen sell it along with the other styrene stuff that they manufacture, but you can get the actual acetate sheets ever so cheap in packs of 5, 10 or whatever from craft stores. really cheaply and they'll last you a long time. So all I'm going to do is just quickly make a template of the original one. Very straightforward. Then lay the little acetate over the top. Then I'll lightly score it with a modelling knife. I won't attempt to cut through it, only because, wow, for safety more than anything. I'm a bit of a butterfingers at times. I'll end up cutting myself. So once you've scored round it and got the rough shape again onto that little sheet, it's simply a matter of cutting it to size. So I never get it right the first time. Even as the best drawing and shaping of a template in the world, you've always got the little bits that you don't account for, of the rake of the windscreen and the slight curves in the corner. So you get through a fair few little pieces here, as I've just shown you there, lying underneath it. But after a couple of minutes of scissoring around and cutting away, just keep offering it up to the little interior, making sure nothing fouls. And thankfully this time, this one actually sits on its own little dashboard internally, so there's no fouling issues at all with this one. It's quite an easy one to do. So I'm going to work my way around it now, just adding some details. And I like to paint. A lot of people have mentioned the pens in the past, and some pens are good for some things, but as I've said in the other videos, they're not really my cup of tea. So I'll carry on using my little paint selections, and you can have a good little play around with this when you're doing the interior. Now you can use little satin finishes and gloss finishes to make things look like material or shiny metal or wood. And all I tend to use all round is flat acrylic paints, and then use satin finishes, glosses to bring out little things. But for instance, the wood is just literally a copper paint which sits nice on top of the plastic, but also gives it a bit of a thin feel in areas. So is that the right term to use? It doesn't adhere very well in some areas, so it actually looks like grains of wood. So I tend to use a copper paint when I'm trying to use a wood veneer finish, so it comes out not too bad. So once that's set to the side to dry, I'll quickly attach the internal screens that I've made, and I'll use some Humbrol Clear Fix. Again, I've used this in other videos. It doesn't fog up or cloud up on the clear parts. And on one of the cars that I've done in the past with the headlights, you can actually wipe it across the area, the opening, the aperture of something, and you can actually make windows with the glue itself, if that makes sense. It's a bit of a fine art, but it does work. But for this one, it's the openings are too big and it's too much. So literally simply just dab it in place, and you can just about make out the little side screens there, quarter screens that I've already done on the other side. And then this one I've just applied, so I think it probably look a little bit more scale and to finish than it does of the original one anyway. So that reproduction thing anyway. So I'm happy with them screens. Just to finish off then is some exhaust that I'll pop out the back. I've done this many times now. It's just a bit of solder wire, some of these electrical ferrules that I've got a nice little rolled edge. God, I am getting my words mixed up this time. It has been a while since I've made a video. And a little bit of activator spray on the glue there just to speed it up a little bit, and you'll have a little exhaust that once you've tidied it up a little bit and removed some of the excess glue, probably add a little bit of heat discoloration for a little bit more detail, but there you have some little mock exhausts. There you go, looks pretty good. So let's have a quick look at how it's starting out. I was adamant I wasn't going to do a race car. Obviously, as this has progressed, I've sort of thought, maybe it could have a little bit of Milli Miglia feel to it. So here's how she originally looked, battered and bruised, and now So hopefully a bit better reveal and presentation of the final car than I've done in the past. These are all my garages and accessories that I've been making. I hope you all like them, and I thought, well, in this ending, let's make a bit of a museum to the cars that actually mean a little bit to me. So first off is this Ford Escort RS 2000. This was the first car on my channel which made it what it is today, so those who started watching me from the start, thank you very much. The XK120 Jaguar, one of my favourites that I made. I enjoyed doing that one. The Back to Hazard car, which I never actually put on YouTube but got a lot of interest on Instagram. And then finally the VW Transporter, which has had the most views on my channel. So if it wasn't for you lot watching them, I wouldn't be doing this now. So thank you very, very much. I hope you all like them. I'll keep on going. Please keep subscribing, sharing, commenting. Really appreciate it. Until next time.